They say twins share a special bond, one that transcends ordinary sibling relationships. Growing up, I believed that was true for Melissa and me. We were identical in appearance, but opposite in nature. I was the cautious one, she was the risk-taker. Still, we were inseparable throughout our childhood. But high school changed everything. Melissa gravitated toward the popular crowd, while I found my place among the academic achievers. Our paths diverged so gradually that I barely noticed it happening. The lengthy conversations in our shared bedroom became shorter, then turned into brief exchanges in passing. By senior year, we were practically strangers living under the same roof. "I'm moving in with Jake," Melissa announced one evening during dinner, dropping the news like a bomb on our family table. She was 18, fresh out of high school, and madly in love with her wealthy boyfriend. Mom nearly choked on her coffee. "But what about college?" "College isn't for everyone," Melissa shrugged, twirling spaghetti around her fork. "Jake says I don't need to worry about that stuff. He'll take care of everything." I remember catching Dad's eye across the table, seeing the worry there that matched my own. But nobody could talk Melissa out of anything once she'd made up her mind. Within weeks, she was married and living in Jake's mansion across town. I took the opposite path, throwing myself into my studies at college. While Melissa was having her first baby at 20, a beautiful boy, I was pulling all-nighters for my finance exams. When she had her daughter a year later, I was graduating with honors and starting my career in banking. Life has a way of dealing unexpected cards. While Melissa seemed to have it all, a wealthy husband, 2 perfect children, and a life of luxury, I faced my own struggles. My marriage, which came 2 years after graduation, brought joy but not the children I desperately wanted. The doctor's verdict was final: infertility. The words fell like heavy stones in my stomach, crushing dreams I didn't even know I had been harboring. "It's not the end of the world, Harper," my husband would say, holding me as I cried. "We can adopt, or we can just be the cool aunt and uncle." He was right, of course, but it didn't make the pain any less real. We tried to make it work for a few more years, before deciding to part ways amicably. Sometimes love isn't enough to bridge the gaps that life creates. Meanwhile, I watched from afar as Melissa lived what seemed like a perfect life. Her social media was filled with pictures of family vacations, designer clothes, and her beautiful children. I felt a complex mix of emotions: happiness for her success and envy for her ability to have children. One morning, my phone exploded with messages and missed calls. Jake had discovered Melissa's affair, or rather, affairs. But that wasn't even the worst part. He'd done DNA tests on both children, and the results shook our entire family to its core: neither child was his. "Get out." I could hear Jake's voice booming through the phone when Mom called to tell me what was happening. "Pack your things and get out of my house. And don't expect a dime from me, they're not even my kids." Just like that, Melissa's carefully constructed life crumbled. 8 years of marriage ended in a single day. With no education, no job experience, and no home of her own, she had no choice but to move back in with our parents, bringing her shell-shocked children with her. What was she thinking? I asked Mom during one of our late-night calls. How could she do this to those innocent kids? Mom sighed heavily. "Your sister, she's always lived in the moment, Harper. You know that. But now she needs our help. The kids need our help." Our parents did what they could, but their modest income barely covered their own expenses. As department head at the commercial bank where I worked, I had the means to step in. At first, I simply transferred money to Melissa's account, thinking she would use it for the children's needs. That illusion didn't last long. One day, I stopped by their house unexpectedly and found the kids wearing worn-out clothes while Melissa strutted around in a brand-new designer outfit. "What are you doing?" I confronted her in the kitchen, keeping my voice low so the children wouldn't hear. "That money was for the kids." Melissa rolled her eyes, checking her reflection in a gleaming new compact mirror. "Look, Harper, I need to look good. How else am I supposed to find another husband? You don't understand, you've got your career, but I need to secure my future." By spending your children's money on makeup and clothes? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Oh, please. She snapped the compact shut. Not everyone can be perfect, Harper, with her fancy job and her moral high ground. I need to get back out there, find someone new. Someone with money. That was the moment I realized I couldn't trust my sister with the children's welfare. From then on, I took matters into my own hands. Every weekend, I'd pick up my niece and nephew, take them shopping for clothes, shoes, school supplies, whatever they needed. I made sure they had good quality everything, from winter coats to soccer cleats. Soon, it became our routine. The kids would spend weekends and holidays at my house, where they had their own rooms set up. We'd go on little adventures, museums, parks, movies. I taught them to bake cookies, helped with their homework, listened to their stories. The day everything changed started like any other. I was at work when I got the frantic call from Mom. Her voice was shaking so badly I could barely understand her words. "Harper, you need to come over right now. It's Melissa. She's gone." I found them in the living room, Mom crying on the couch, Dad holding a piece of paper in trembling hands. The kids were at school, thankfully, unaware that their world was about to be turned upside down again. "She just left," Dad said, handing me the letter. "We found this morning." The letter was typed, not even handwritten. Classic Melissa, she couldn't even be bothered to write by hand when abandoning her children. "Dear family, I've met the love of my life. He's everything I've ever wanted, and we're moving to another state to start our life together. He doesn't want to raise other people's children, and honestly, neither do I. They'll only get in the way of my happiness." I had to stop reading for a moment, my hands shaking with rage. But the next part made my blood run cold. "Harper, I'm actually doing you a huge favor. You're infertile and will never have children of your own. So here you go, you can have mine. Consider it a gift from one sister to another." How dare she? I crumpled the paper in my fist. How dare she use my infertility like that? And the kids, they're 13 and 12. They're not puppies you can just give away. Mom wiped her eyes. "What are we going to do? We can't raise them at our age, Harper. We're too old, and with your father's health." "I'll take them," I said without hesitation. "They practically live with me anyway. I'll get a lawyer first thing tomorrow." The legal process was surprisingly straightforward, mainly because Melissa made it clear she wanted nothing to do with it. When she was summoned to court for the custody hearing, she didn't even bother to show up. Instead, her response came in the form of a notarized document, a complete waiver of her parental rights. The judge reviewed my financial statements, home situation, and the existing relationship I had with the kids. 1 month later, I became their legal guardian. As the years rolled by, Melissa's absence became just another fact of life. No birthday cards, no Christmas calls, not even a simple text message to her children. I remember the first Christmas after she left. Tommy, her son, had made a beautiful ceramic ornament at school. "Do you think we should mail it to Mom?" he asked hesitantly, holding the delicate piece in his hands. Sarah, his sister, just shook her head. "Why bother? She doesn't even know where we live anymore." Those early years were the hardest. I'd catch them sometimes, looking at old family photos, trying to make sense of their mother's abandonment. But gradually, those moments became rarer, replaced by new memories we were creating together. Mom and Dad would get occasional calls from Melissa. They'd tell me about them in that overly casual way that meant they were walking on eggshells. "Your sister called yesterday," Mom would say, stirring her tea unnecessarily. "She's doing well, very well actually." "Did she ask about the kids?" I'd always ask, already knowing the answer. Mom would look away. "She was in a hurry, you know how it is." But I did catch glimpses of Melissa's life, usually by accident. I'd walk into the living room, and Dad would quickly minimize his browser window, but not before I'd seen the social media photos: Melissa on a yacht in the Mediterranean, posing in front of a mansion in the Hamptons, draped across the hood of a Ferrari. "Must be nice," I'd mutter, watching Mom hastily close the laptop. Living the high life while her kids wore hand-me-downs their first year with me. Harper, Mom would start, but I'd cut her off. No, really. She's got enough money for designer handbags, but couldn't send Tommy a card when he made honor roll? Couldn't spare a few dollars for Sarah's dance recital costume? Eventually, I stopped looking, stopped asking, stopped wondering. My life became a well-choreographed dance of work and family responsibilities. I threw myself into my role at the bank during the day and helped with homework at night. Weekends were filled with soccer games, dance recitals, and science fairs. Dating? That took a back seat. A few men came and went, but none understood that my kids came first. Yes, my kids, because that's what they had become. The children thrived despite, or maybe because of, their mother's absence. Tommy showed an aptitude for numbers early on, always helping to balance my checkbook, investing his allowance in stocks by the time he was 16. Sarah inherited my love for debate, turning every dinner discussion into a friendly courtroom drama. You should have been a lawyer, Sarah told me one night during her senior year of high school, as we pored over college applications. I smiled. One lawyer in the family is enough. Besides, who would help your brother understand finance? Mom, Tommy called from the kitchen. He'd started calling me that somewhere along the way. You know I'm better at finance than you are. He wasn't wrong. By the time college acceptance letters started arriving, Tommy had already lined up an impressive internship at a leading financial firm. Sarah, meanwhile, had her pick of top-tier law schools. Writing those tuition checks wasn't easy. Prestigious colleges don't come cheap, but seeing them flourish made every sacrifice worthwhile. I sold my vacation home in the mountains, took extra consulting jobs on weekends, and never regretted a single penny. The pride in their eyes when they called me Mom was worth more than any yacht or mansion their biological mother was posing in front of on social media. We had built something real, something that couldn't be captured in a carefully staged photograph or measured in dollar signs. My 50th birthday wasn't something I planned to celebrate big, but Tommy and Sarah insisted. It's a milestone, Mom, they said, and before I knew it, they'd booked the finest restaurant in town and invited everyone, my parents, old friends, colleagues, the whole extended family. The evening was perfect. The restaurant's private room buzzed with laughter and conversation, wine flowed freely, and stories from the past 2 decades filled the air. I sat there, watching Tommy charm the room with his financial wit while Sarah kept everyone entertained with her courtroom tales. Aunt Harper, Mom, Tommy said, tapping his glass for attention. Could you come outside for a minute? We have a little surprise for you. The cool evening air hit my face as we stepped outside. There, parked right in front of the restaurant entrance, stood a brand new Mercedes, wrapped in an enormous red bow that fluttered in the breeze. What is this? I stammered, as Sarah came up behind me. She wrapped her arms around me, tears already streaming down her face. This is for you, Mom. Because that's who you are to us, our mother. Not just our aunt who took us in, but the woman who raised us, who loved us, who made us who we are today. I couldn't hold back my own tears then. Behind us, party guests spilled out onto the sidewalk, gasping and applauding. My parents stood in the doorway, Mom wiping her eyes with a tissue. We took photos together, me and my children posing in front of the car, all of us grinning through happy tears. Later that night, I posted one of the pictures on social media with a simple caption, "Blessed beyond measure by these 2 incredible humans who call me Mom." Best birthday gift ever, not the car, but their love. 3 days later, my phone rang. The number wasn't saved in my contacts, but I knew instantly who it was. How dare you? Melissa's voice crackled through the speaker. That car should be mine. I gripped the phone tighter. Excuse me? Don't play dumb, Harper. I saw the photos. Those are my children, and that should be my car. We're twins, it was my 50th birthday too. And I'm their real mother. Real mother? I couldn't keep the anger from my voice. Where was their real mother when Tommy needed surgery for his appendix? When Sarah had her first heartbreak? when they graduated? That's not fair. That car rightfully belongs to me. I took a deep breath. Listen carefully, Melissa. First, they're adults who can decide for themselves who to give gifts to. Second, being a mother isn't about blood, it's about being there, every day, through every triumph and tragedy. And third, instead of demanding gifts, maybe you should be on your knees begging their forgiveness for abandoning them. You've always been so self-righteous. No, I cut her off. I've always been there. That's the difference. Don't call me again unless it's to apologize to your children. The morning after Melissa's call, my phone rang again. This time it was Mom's number. I answered, still groggy from a restless night, wondering if she was calling about Sunday dinner plans. Harper, honey, Mom's voice had that placating tone she used when she wanted something. We need to talk about the car. I sat up straighter in my chair. What about it? Your sister, she's going through a really rough time right now. Her boyfriend left her for some 20-something model, and she's practically destitute. Maybe you could, give her the car? She needs it more than you do right now. You have a perfectly good car already, Anne. Are you serious? I cut her off. That car was a gift from my children. A thank you for 20 years of love and dedication. It's not some spare tire I can just hand off to Melissa because she burned through another relationship. I heard Dad's voice in the background, murmuring something, and Mom's hand presumably covering the receiver. Then she was back. Harper, you need to be the bigger person here. Your sister made mistakes, yes, but that's in the past. We need to forgive and forget. Forgive and forget? My voice rose. She abandoned her children. She wrote a letter saying they would interfere with her happiness and walked away without a backward glance. And now that her latest meal ticket has dumped her, suddenly she remembers she has family? That's not fair, Harper. She was young, she made mistakes. She was 30 when she left them. And where were you two when I was working 60-hour weeks to put them through college? When I was selling my vacation home to cover their tuition? Did you tell Melissa to forgive and forget then? Harper. We're done here, I said firmly, and ended the call. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. That evening, my phone started buzzing with notifications. Friends and family were messaging me, asking if I was okay, saying they were there for me if I needed to talk. Confused, I opened social media and felt my stomach drop. Melissa had written a long post, complete with old family photos. Her version of events read like a soap opera script, how I had stolen her children through the courts, how I had turned them against her with lies and manipulation. According to her tear-jerking narrative, she'd been forced to flee town to escape my bullying, while I used her children as props to boost my social standing. My own sister, she wrote, who couldn't have children of her own, saw an opportunity to play the hero. She took advantage of a difficult time in my life to steal my babies, and now she's demanding expensive gifts from them as payment for her so-called generosity. She never loved them, she just wanted to look good in front of her rich friends. The post had hundreds of sympathetic comments, shares, and likes. But what stabbed deepest was seeing Mom's name among those who had liked it. My own mother, who had watched me raise those children, who had seen every sacrifice, every late night, every triumph and tear, had publicly sided with Melissa's lies. My phone rang at midnight. It was Tommy, his voice tight with anger. We saw the post, Mom. Sarah's been crying for hours. How dare she twist everything like this? I tried to calm him down. It's okay, sweetheart. People who matter know the truth. No, Sarah's voice cut in, they must have been on speaker. It's not okay. We're not letting her get away with this. Mom, remember that letter? The one you kept? Of course I remembered. It was in my home office, tucked away in a fireproof box along with their birth certificates and other important documents. I'd kept it all these years, not out of spite, but out of a mother's instinct to protect her children from future hurt. We need to tell our side, Tommy insisted. The real story. Not her fairy tale version where she's the victim. The next morning, I sat at my computer, hands hovering over the keyboard. The letter lay next to me, its paper yellowed with age, but the words still sharp enough to cut. I wrote about a mother who abandoned her children with a typed letter, explaining how they would interfere with her happiness. I wrote about middle school graduations where one chair remained empty, about college acceptance letters that were never shared with their biological mother because she'd never asked for their address. I scanned the letter, that cold, typed farewell, and posted it alongside my words. The timestamp and date were clear, the signature at the bottom unmistakable. Within hours, the post exploded. Family members who had sympathized with Melissa's version were now sending shocked messages. "We had no idea," they wrote. "How could she?" Then came Tommy's comment, "I was 13 when our mother decided we weren't worth keeping. 13 when she traded us for a man who didn't want other people's children. But we weren't abandoned, we were blessed. Our aunt became our mother, not through blood, but through choice. Every day, she chose us. And now we choose her." Sarah's comment followed, "To the woman who gave birth to us, you call yourself our mother, but where were you? Where were you when I had my first heartbreak? When Tommy broke his arm? When we graduated? Our real mother was there, our Aunt Harper, who became simply Mom. She earned that title through years of love, sacrifice, and unwavering support. My parents remained conspicuously silent. No comments, no likes, no private messages. Their silence spoke volumes. But Tommy wasn't finished. He called me one evening, excitement in his voice. "Mom, I've been working on something. I think it's time to show everyone exactly what family means." The video he created brought tears to my eyes. Set to gentle music, it showed our life together over the years, photographs and clips he'd gathered from family members and our own albums. There I was, cheering at Tommy's first soccer game, helping Sarah with her science project. Birthday parties where we laughed over homemade cakes, Christmas mornings unwrapping presents in our pajamas. Graduations, high school and college, where I beamed with pride, adjusting their caps and tassels. "Post it," Tommy said softly. "Let this be the final word." The video ended with recent footage from my 50th birthday, the three of us hugging in front of the Mercedes, genuine joy radiating from our faces. The caption was simple: "Family is built with love, not blood. Thank you, Mom, for choosing us every single day." The morning after we posted the video, my mother called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but some old habit made me answer. "How could you do this to your sister?" Her voice trembled with anger. "Humiliating her in front of everyone like that. You've always been jealous of her, always trying to prove you're better." "Stop right there," I interrupted, surprised by how calm I felt. "I didn't humiliate anyone. I simply showed the truth, with proof. It's time to let go of the past, Harper. What's done is done. You need to take down those posts and apologize to your sister. She's living with us now, you know. She has nothing left." I looked at the framed photo on my desk, Tommy and Sarah at their college graduations, both of them hugging me tight, their faces glowing with pride and love. "No, Mom, I won't apologize for telling the truth. And I won't pretend the past didn't happen just because it's convenient for you and Melissa. Harper. You chose your side, Mom. You chose it when you liked her lies about me. You chose it every time you hid her social media posts from me, every time you made excuses for her abandoning her children. She's your sister. And they're my children. That's a choice I made and a commitment I kept, which is more than I can say for either of you." The line went dead. She'd hung up on me, and somehow, I knew it was the last conversation we'd ever have. That was 6 months ago. I heard through family that Melissa's still living with our parents, trying to get back on her feet again. Tommy and Sarah don't visit their grandparents anymore, they can't bear the thought of running into their biological mother there. Life has settled into a new normal. I see my children often, Sunday dinners are still a tradition, just with a smaller family now. Tommy's business is thriving, and Sarah, Well, Sarah just gave me the news that's had me walking on air for days. Mom, she said, holding out her hand to show me the sparkling engagement ring. Will you help me plan the wedding? I want everything to be perfect. Of course, I burst into tears and hugged her tight. Now my dining room table is covered with bridal magazines and color swatches. Yesterday, as we were debating flower arrangements, Sarah suddenly got quiet. What is it, sweetheart? I asked. I was just thinking, someday, when I have kids, they're going to have the best grandmother in the world. You'll be amazing with them, just like you were with us. I smiled, thinking about how life comes full circle. Years ago, doctors told me I'd never have children of my own. They were wrong. I ended up with two amazing children who chose me just as much as I chose them. And now, as I help plan my daughter's wedding, I look forward to the next chapter of our story, one that will be filled with even more love, more joy, and maybe, just maybe, the pitter-patter of little feet calling me grandma.